go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this event. Google never listens to me. Anyway, that's another story. So welcome to this special sales event. I'm just going to go stop share just for a moment. There we go. Where we're going to talk about constructing a highly effective sales process. It says that on the screen. Therefore, that is what we shall do. Aileen, you're pissing yourself. I've done something that's funny. And the thing about sales process, it's the one area where 100% of the businesses that I work with can and do improve. That results in a virtually immediate rise in sales conversions and reduction of discounting. And really, who doesn't want that? So for the next 40 minutes or so, this is going to be more of an overview of the steps required to create a strong sales process. And by the end, you'll have the building blocks to take into your business or into your process. And the key then is implementation. So, today, post-COVID, I know I'm super busy. I'm sure you guys are too. So I'm going to subscribe to the golden rules of sales. The 3 Bs: be relevant, be brief, be gone. So I'm going to try and do that today. Be relevant, be brief, be gone. And I guess if there was one thing that, and I'm going off script already, but I do have my timer on, but be relevant, be brief, be gone. Think about that in all of your sales interactions, specifically when it comes to cold outreach, emails, things like that. Because if you're having big, long emails that are 250, 300 words long, no one in their right mind is going to read that. Create intrigue. And an initial outreach email, start of the sales process, shouldn't really be more than 35 to 60 words, and make it intriguing. They should be thirsty for more. Now, if you have any comments, questions, just whack them in the chat bot. I'm not going to get distracted by having it up in front of me, but I will get to them at a couple of points during this event. Righto, so what you're going to be seeing today is 35 years. It's a culmination of 36 years of sales experience selling capital equipment, establishing markets, and learning from things when they didn't go wrong, and also having some amazing successes. But in sales, it's a regular occurrence. Things got not going quite to plan, right? That's business, and we're all in business. And I love these challenges because that's where the learning is. And I can tell you, I've learned a whole lot over 36 years in sales. And now I work with a bunch of small to medium-sized enterprises. Some are on the call today, helping with their sales process, with their sales teams, and getting some great results. Virtually everyone I work with eliminates discounting, prices up, sales go up. Why? Because they develop a prize frame mindset, select their clients, construct a highly effective sales process, and more importantly, take action. So what I'm talking about today is battle tested in the same market you're in right now, today. I'm not a sales guy that had a couple of major wins 10 years ago, and now I'm telling you about it. That doesn't work. The market's changed. Just look at what's happening over the past 12 months. You'd all be familiar with this thing called a global pandemic, and that really stuffed things up. And from a sales perspective, things got pretty tough for a while, right? Clients were in fight or flight. They were fearful. They were uncertain, and sellers were fearful and uncertain. What happens when you bring two fearful, uncertain people together? Well, no good can possibly come from that. So I'm still selling capital equipment as a side hustle today. In fact, only 3 weeks ago, I pitched to the second largest rental company in the United States, an equipment deal on behalf of my Italian supplier, a deal that's still advancing through the process. And in fact, 20 minutes ago, I just sent another email out, which is designed to go into exactly the same sales process that you're going to be learning and finding a little bit about today. So my point is, this is relevant to you. It works today in a COVID, post-COVID market. I use it, my customers use it, sales conversions up, discounting gone. And at the end of the day, that's what it is about. And I'm just going to share my screen with you again. Here we go. Boom. Right to Riho. He says, getting started. So, what's the first step in customer selection? Well, for me, the first step in selecting a client is your mindset. And if you can get the mindset around, hey, Mr. Customer, I'm the prize, not you. Mr. Customer, I choose you, you don't choose me. Hey, Mr. Customer, you need me, I don't need you. You've got a pain or problem point. I don't have that pain or problem point. I'm an expert in your pain or problem, and if and I can walk away and use your pain or problem remains, and you can put that frame into your business today. Now, that's not being big-headed, and that's not being arrogant. This is, you don't literally say this to your customer, of course. This is the mindset you got going on coming in. So let me ask you this. So most businesses out there will deal with anyone, let anyone through the doors into their inner sanctum for only one reason: because the buyer has money and you want it. You've now made the customer the prize. They own you, you don't own them. So let me ask you this. As a business owner, when you decide to take on a new employee, a talent member, you put a lot of effort into creating a position description of the role, which outlines what your company's expectations are. The potential employee then undergoes a rigorous series of interviews to ensure they're the right fit. They exhibit values that align with your company's and other individuals within it. And after a period, you'll invite them to be part of your team. The new talent member is then placed on probation, right? After which they become a permanent fixture. Now, if they do something, this employee, something that's undesirable or outside the culture of the business, they do something that's not quite right, they've got two choices: piss off or do it my way, because that's company policy. But so I ask you this, so why don't most businesses have a client selection criteria? And more to the point, a non-selection criteria. A client that performs badly is equally as destructive to your company or culture as a poor performing employee. But businesses tend to accept this from their customers. If a customer performs badly or does something incorrectly, a business owner reaches out and pulls them back through the boundary. Hey, come with me. And it's just like a toddler when you're telling them off, but then on the other hand, saying to them, oh no, it'll be okay. No, that's not okay, Mr. Customer. You don't act like that. If you do act like that, there's going to be consequences, and we may not be a good fit to work together. Because the only reason you've reached out and brought them back in is because you want their money. And that is a classic sign of neediness. They own your ass. So how many of you have a client selection criteria? And how many of you, good on you, Aileen, and how many of you have a client deselection criteria? How many of you have the boundaries out there, a set of rules that you advise the client about when they're onboarding? And how many of you advise the clients that these boundaries overstep, you're going to fire them? I actually had a conversation with one of my clients on Monday. He called in and he said, Martin, I have an opinion that I'm of the opinion you're about to sack me as a customer. And I said, well, you're absolutely right. Is there any reason that I should not? And there was a legitimate excuse, personal issues, stuff like that. So, okay, it's just like an employee, legitimate. But that particular customer now knows you turn up late anymore, or you don't turn up at all, that's going to be immediate sacking. I'm not going to work with you anymore. And unless you're a client of mine, chances are you may not have a client selection criteria, but that's where a sales process starts. Selecting the right customer right from the get-go to enter into your sales process. Here at TSS, I have 2 rules of engagement. That's all. Be on time, do what you say you're going to do. And my rationale is very, very simple. And you guys can use this in your business today. I won't do it for you, but I will do it with you. And that's a powerful comment. And I use this for every single one of my customers. From a sales perspective, if I'm engaging with someone from a sales perspective, your sales process should be more important to you than it is to me. Why? Because it's your bloody sales process. And if it's not important to you, just tell me, great. I'm not going to be able to do all the heavy lifting on my own. You, Mr. Customer, have to put some effort in. And it's the same. I happen to know Aileen is in customer retention. Be exactly the same thing. Lou, Hayton, you're in marketing. Same thing. That type of stuff, when a customer doesn't perform in the marketing realms and doesn't do what you ask, they're not engaged, it creates a total, I was going to use the word cluster starting with F, but I'm not going to do that. It creates tension and drama within your organization. So if you can pre-frame this, hey, Mr. Customer, hey, it's great. I won't do it for you, but I will do it with you. As committed as you are, you put in 100%, I will equal your effort on your sales process. But I'm not going to do more than you. I can't be expected to do all the lifting. It should be more important to you than it is to me. So be on time, do what you say you're going to do. And, if you're all in, I'm in too. No problem. But if you're not, that's completely fine. Just tell me. I'll find you another sales facilitator that's not all in, that doesn't care. That's no problem because they're out there. But I'm not one. I'm all about results. And just equate that to what you do in your business. And Chris, you're an artist. Exactly the same thing for you. When someone's hanging your piece of artwork on their wall, that is a life experience that they're going to have forever. So you want them to be invested in your painting, to know a little bit about it, to work out the right size wall, what it's going to look like, the light that's framing down on it. All that sort of stuff is very important. So everyone out there, no matter what you do, what service you offer, what product you sell, you'll be able to provide a client selection criteria. The only people who will object to you setting boundaries are those who will take advantage of you not having any. And that's really, really important. And just think about that. So if you're in business and you're doing a pitch or you're doing a pre-frame and a customer says, you know what, I don't like that boundary, that's fine. They were never going to be a good fit anyway. So swipe left on that shit. I think it's left, whatever way it is, the negative way. Aileen, yes, nodding. Thank you very much. And guess what boundaries shout? Boundaries shout, we know what we're doing. We've done this before. This is the way to get results. And the client feels protected, feels safe. So I'm curious, and if you like, just whack in the chat box, what would be a deselection criteria from your perspective? If a client exhibited this thing to you, what would lead you to have that conversation about exiting that customer to your business? So step one in constructing a highly effective sales process is be very careful on the customers that you allow to enter it. Okay, so most of you out there are generating leads and some of you are going to be pretty goddamn good at it. A small pre-frame, a couple of numbers for you. At the moment, Australian business spends around $15.6 billion a year, that's with a B, on marketing and advertising, of which about 50% is in the digital marketing. So websites, SEO, Google AdWords, YouTube videos, stuff like that. Stuff that Louisa from Kick & Co does for a living. So 15.6 billion, and Lou only wants 15 of it. The 0.6 can go elsewhere, isn't that right, Lou? But on top of the 15.6 billion, Australian businesses on average spend $300 more per day on average generating leads on social media, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So lead generation machines. But guess how much Australian businesses spend on converting those leads into gold once you've got them? It says it there, 51 cents a day. So after Australian business spent 15.6 billion and $300 a day, you got all these leads, 51 cents. Mother of mercy. Can you tell it's a pet hate of mine? My point is Australian business knows how to generate leads. That's what Australian businesses do. It's flashy and it feels good. But the next figures are figures that should give you a little bit of pause. So, and these are pre-COVID numbers. So the 2020 pre-COVID numbers, 70% of the buyer's purchasing decision is now made up before we as businesses get a phone call or get an interaction. 70%. And that's forecast to rise to 90% within 5 years. So in 5 years' time, 90% of the purchasing decision of the customer is going to be made before you get a phone call or a contact. That's a big problem, guys, because you'll get one opportunity to pitch, persuade, influence, and sell, or else they're going to be beep, beep, gone. And what do you think is going to be the one question that these guys ask when a buyer rings in? It's like the mating call of a buyer. What's the price? What's the price? You answer that and you are absolutely dead. You're going to be like Loki, when Hulk's got him by the leg going doof, 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 doof. It's not pretty. It's not fun. It hurts. And you don't want to be Loki. The solution is a clearly defined sales process. Sales is a process. It's about a range of next steps. A clearly defined sales process that consists of next steps that both you and the buyer commit to. Most people in sales, they'll get a lead and then they'll be thinking immediately, now I can make a sale. It's a one-shot, one-kill scenario. Now that works from time to time. Sometimes you actually get lucky. But sales is not about luck. Sales is about a protest. It's about a process. Sales is sometimes about a protest. I got that right. Hey, what? It's about a process. How many of you have got off the phone sometimes and go, that's a sure thing. And you zip out to the boss or your business partner, in the bag, and then you try and give them a call, you get crickets. What's happened? You've skipped from lead to sale. There's no process. So you've got no way of knowing where your process is broken and what to fix. If you have a series of next steps in there, then a customer, when you can find out very quickly what it is, where the process is broken down and where that is going to, what went wrong. You've got no way of knowing. So a process is bloody important. So let's talk about how to structure a highly effective sales process. And this is relevant for all businesses. The way you implement might be slightly different, but the framework is still the same. When I'm doing multi-million-dollar capital equipment deals that can take months versus onboarding a customer for one-on-one sales strategist work, which might take 24 to 48 hours, or someone attends a sales cardio experience that might take 15 minutes, my sales process is exactly the same for months or for 2 days or for 15 minutes. My process does not vary. But obviously it's compacted. But the process is exactly the same. And so it's the same for you guys. Exact same. So I hope you're all with me, because you're about to get a dump of information. And this dump of information is usually presented in 4 hours and then worked on for about the next 28 days. So this will give you the structure that we can work on. So you would have all seen features of benefit selling. Features of benefit selling is all about you. I could go into this big preamble about the relevant demerits of features of benefit selling. Suspend all disbelief. Features of benefit selling is old. It doesn't work anymore. It's all about you, the customer, the supplier. It's not about the customer. Sales process these days needs to be all about the customer. Heart-based selling, which is what I teach. Honesty, empathy, assuredness, results, and trust. We haven't got time to go into those pillars today. I'm not going to, but it's prevalent in everything we do. And the common mistake that 95% of businesses make, and I used to make as well, is overshoot. You get a lead on that. You get someone ringing in. Hey, send me some information. So what do? You'll send an email out and it'll have PDF files attached, YouTube links, pricing, all the information in an email. Great. So why the bloody hell would they contact you again? What's the point? You've just given it all away. There's no intrigue. You've shown them what you've got. That's mistake number one. So mistake number one at the start of a sales process is to quit that shit. Stop giving everything away. Keep the intrigue. And I'm going to go through that pre-frame for you in just a moment. In fact, I'm going to do it right now, because that's how I roll. So sales process. So if you think about the traditional sales process features, it starts with rapport, right? Building rapport, being nice. So, hi, how you going? How's your sporting team? What does your son do? You're not interested. You're just not. Salesmen camp there because it feels good. It's easy, but it's also really bloody lazy. Now, human psychology, humans pay attention for 20 minutes. That's it. So be relevant, be brief, be gone. 20 minutes is all you got in a pitch, especially to start with. So be relevant, be brief, be gone. And start with relatedness, not rapport, because people burn up 15 minutes on being nice, and then you're going to have 5 minutes left for everything else before the customer's crock brain starts going, and I'm not interested anymore. So what's relatedness? Relatedness is talking about something that's relating to them. And it's not COVID. COVID is fight or flight. Avoid COVID. My ode to COVID, just as a by the way, interesting times we're in. That's it. What is that? 1.5 seconds? If you dwell on COVID, there's every chance you're going to send them straight back into fight or flight because it's still an emotional attachment to that. So avoid talking about COVID, but mention it on the way through. I was talking with a marketing company the other day, and the guy said, so my pre-frame when I'm talking to someone from a cold call is I'll see a billboard down the road. Hey, look, I saw your billboard. That's a great relatedness frame. So relatedness. Then we set the frame. Now, if you guys do nothing else out of this workshop, if you take no other information out of it, the next bit that I'm about to give you is pure gold. If you take these 30 words and implement them in your business today, sales conversions up, discounting will reduce, and I'm going to look like a champion because you're getting all this right now. So every one of you can pre-frame this in your business. And you use this in the first 60 to 120 seconds of every sales transaction. Hey, look, we're a premium product or service, and we're not a good fit for everyone. To see if we are a good fit to work together, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Now, no matter what you do, if you are David in concrete, hey, look, we're a premium concrete repair company. We understand we're not for everybody. To see if we're a good fit, I'm going to ask you a few questions. If you're Chris, the artist, hey, look, I'm a premium artist. I understand I'm not for everybody. To see if we're a good fit, I'm going to ask you a few questions. There's a lot going on. So let's just drill down on this for a minute, but implement this. We're a premium product. You've immediately told someone, we're not cheap. You've had that price discussion without having that price discussion. If you wait till the end, it seems secretive. And if you wait for the customer to bring up price, then you've become a transaction. Then it's a battle on price. Bring it up to, it's like a truth bomb. Boom. We're a premium product. Navigate your way around that, Mr. Customer. See how you like, hey, you like them apples. Boom. And I understand, we're not for everybody. So people chase that which walks away. So this is a classic case of engaging the croc brain, intrigue. I'm fascinated. Why wouldn't I be a good fit for your business? Most salespeople aren't like that. To see if we're a good fit. Well, I'm selecting you. You're not selecting me. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm the prize, so I'm going to be asking the questions. So there's a 30-word script. Take a photo of the screen dump it, do whatever it is, and put it in every every initial. You don't use it every time out of the gate, of course, because you don't want this one client hearing it time after time after time. But they can absolutely hear the premium product piece because you can come back. Oh, shit, that's a bit more than I thought. Yeah, hey, look, dude, I did say we're a premium product. I told you that right up front. Oh, okay. And you'll find that will diffuse quite a few of those price discussions. And it certainly reduces a lot of discounting. Okay, ID the problem. So IDing the problem is when you go down in the heart-based selling, E for empathy. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. You've just pre-framed that in setting the frame. So what's your biggest challenge with customer retention? What's your biggest challenge with onboarding new customers? What's your biggest challenge with your concrete pad? What's your biggest challenge with whatever it is that you do? And you're drilling down with empathy, asking questions. Keep this thing called the mouth shut. That's a bit awkward when you're doing a presentation. And keep these things open. They're called ears. You've got two of these and one of these for a reason. So use your ears and don't use your mouth, except for asking questions. And guys, listening is the most active thing we do. So listen. Listen is not waiting for your turn to speak. Listen is actually listening. And then once you've got the information out of your customer, I like to return it back and say, okay, so based on my understanding, this is what you're telling me. And you'll actually see the shoulders will drop and they'll go, oh, finally someone understands me. Then you're up to the good fit. Now you've decided, you've got enough information to decide swipe left or right. And the first, I'm pointing at the screen, you can't see. I'm going to stop doing that. So relatedness, set the frame, ID the problem. Are you a good fit? 5 minutes. That's all that takes. No more than 5 minutes. I work with people lawyers, for example, and their pre-frame up until now has been 30 minutes. Now, if you're a lawyer, you know, they charge like $1 billion an hour. That half an hour is a lot of money. But you can ask these questions in 5 minutes. Being certain and sure of your customer selection criteria is important because that way you can dwindle it down. And for me, that's when I choose to go the next step. Okay, so what's the next step? So I stop my sales conversation. I stop my pitch right there. So let's book in. Now that we've decided we might be a good fit together, let's organize another time where we can go through a 15 to 20 minute presentation. At that presentation, then we create status and certainty. Now, everyone in every sales engagement has low status, unless you're Bill Gates or Elon Musk or someone like that. But I don't think Elon, put your hand up. No, Elon's not on the call today. So none of us here are Elon or Bill Gates, right? So we have to establish status out of the gate. We have to create certainty. Why should I deal with you? And that's what I do in my sales cardio workshop. It's a whole 4 hours because status and certainty is where it's at. That's the key to selling today. And I'm not obviously going to spend 4 hours on it, but a quick example was I went to a bike shop the other day. I'm going to hang my head and show. I went to the bike shop. The bike shop owner says, "What's wrong?" I said, "Flat tires." "Flat tires, really?" He looked at me with, "Hey, I can't get enough air in my tires, right?" But then he came out with Oren Clark, who I follow, would call a flash roll. He's, so you've got a giant and it really pisses me off. That's a professional mountain bike and you're not a professional mountain biker, right? I said, no. He said, so they're tubeless. And what happens with tubeless tires is that they go flat if you're not using them a lot. And then people like you, who aren't professional mountain bikers, come back and I've got to spend my time putting bloody air in the tires for you. It's a pain in the ass. If I was you, I'd put tubes in the tires. It's going to cost you $66, come back in 2 hours. I can shut up and take my money. That's one way of creating certainty. Now, there's a whole frame around that, but that's a very quick example of how to create certainty. If you were buying a car and you walked into Tesla and Elon Musk popped his head up, chances are you'd be walking out of there with a Tesla. And you wouldn't be talking to Elon Musk about price because he doesn't talk price. He's the guy that convinced NASA that he was now the expert in space. Love to be a fly on the wall for that pitch. Anyway, how are we going? 29 minutes. Awesome. Why now? Why should the customer take action? It's kind of the winter is coming, impending doom. What happens if you don't take action? You know, I happen to be working with David Bellamy and his crew from Concrete Repairs. He's the best concreter in the Southern Hemisphere. I happen to know this. But what happens if you don't use my services? Well, you're going to get cracks in your concrete, and that's potentially going to cost you $20,000 or $30,000 because I'm just going to have to come back and fix it up anyway. So if you do the job right the first time, and I'm super busy, so I've only got spots available, very limited spots. So if you're not going to commit, that's fine, but I'm out of here. Boom, I'm gone. Why should you take action now? There's always a why now theme. And sometimes it's because you're busy. You've got limited availability. Hey, look, this pain or problem is real for you right now. I'm an expert in your pain or problem. I can solve it. What's holding you back, dude? And then, okay, so now you pitch. So you know features and benefits? Here it is, number 7. Boom. So Oren Clough, and I spend a couple of hours a week with Oren, but he would say to you, for most businesses who maybe don't understand selling so well, whatever you're doing at the start of your process now, if you put it at the end, your sales process is going to be a lot more intriguing and interesting than it is right now, because everyone's usually, it's about me, here's all the information. But we're now at stage 7, nearly done, and we're pitching. But now remember, you've set the frame. The customer's a good fit. You've created certainty and why now. And because you're an expert, this is not now when you come out with a big, long list of options for your customer. Oh, you could do this or you could do that. Why? Because you're the frigging expert and you should know your shit. So now you come out with option 1. If I was you, this is the best way to solve your problem. And potentially, if budget is a consideration, if you're a tight ass, maybe I'd consider this. But that's not the best one. So you come out with 1, possibly 1 alternative. And then You stop pitching. You pass back autonomy to the customer. So what do you think is the next step? How do you think we should work together? You're not actually closing. You're allowing the client to close. And believe me, if you get this system working, the customer's chomping at the bit. They're like one of Lou's racehorses. They just want to, come on. They just want to deal with you. They're closing your pitch to you. And that's how you want to do it. Sales is easy. And then you got the close. Whew, that was a bit of a rant. Okay, where am I up to? Let's have a look here. I'm just going to stop for a second and have a look in the chat bot because I can. Here we go. Looking for another quote when they have 3. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass, David. Absolute pain in the ass. So, and that's part of the client selection criteria and the range of next steps. And I'm actually going to talk about that shortly. So thanks for raising that one. So I hear you all going, hey, Marty, this is great, but how do you actually put that together in a process? Well, I'm pleased you all asked. I can hear everyone asking. Good on you guys. So it all comes back to starting with lead generation. Now, let's start with step number 1. Now, I put these charts together, so hopefully they work. So let's look at, let's say you're, I'm pointing to the screen again, but you're generating leads on social media, emails, messenger, website. So what is the very first, if you're, let's say you turn up in the morning to work and you've got 30 leads on your computer from various sources of outreach. Your selection process is, what is the micro commitment that you want your customer to take to prove to you that they're serious about a deal? What does that look like to you? Because it might be different. Now, so a lot of customers, it would be, for example, well, if I can get their email, their phone number, then they're showing that they're committed to this process. Because if they won't give you a phone number, that's okay. But what it means is they're either price shopping, they're not invested in the process. If they don't want to talk to you, then chances are they're not going to be a good customer for you. So when you're generating new leads, what is that one thing that you can think of that for you, for your business, that micro step that you want that customer to take that proves to you that they're worthy of you taking the next step on and having a conversation with? Now, if you've got pre-qualified leads, stop pointing to the screen. If you've got pre-qualified leads, no, I wasn't talking to you, Aileen. If you've got pre-qualified leads and they're referrals or an incoming phone call, you've obviously already got their phone number. So that's not one. Or existing company customers, they're going to go straight into bucket number 2, which takes you straight into stage number 2. And stage number 2, as you saw earlier, this one is, are we a good fit? You know, we're a premium product. We're not for everybody. To see if we're a good fit, I'm going to ask you for a few questions. That's where this one comes in. And once again, if all criteria are not met and you deselect them as a customer, that's completely fine. They go into your nurture bucket. But if they do meet your criteria and you do decide they're a good next step, then they go into your stage 3 bucket. And your stage 3 bucket is where you create certainty. Why now? You give them the pitch. But they've earned this right. It's not a right, because this is when you get to show the, Martin, you're being broadcast, don't say that. This is when you get to show all the good stuff to your potential customer. Before now, it's too early. It's just too early. So when you're doing all this, you're working out, are you ready to commit? Have they got a budget to get started? Are all the decision makers on board? That's a decent one. You're not going to be doing this stage until you've got the decision makers. Why? Because it's a waste of time. That's why. So you're not pitching to anyone that's not a decision maker. Work out who the decision makers are and get them in the room. What's a potential start date? Again, if all this doesn't work out, that's fine. They go straight back in the nurture bucket. But if they are, then you're into the next step. And the next step is usually the investment proposal. Everyone out there who does quotes, stop it. Everyone out there who talks price, stop it. Talk investment. People invest in houses. People invest in real estate. People, the same thing. People invest in cars. People invest in their spouse. People invest in things of value. So if you do one thing, stop talking about price. Don't send quotes out. Send investment proposals. It's psychologically smart. And what I like to do, and all of the customers that I work with do this, they'll segment their customers. So what's a big customer? So I'll give you an example of one of my customers. And one of my customers, for example, might be a $80,000 plus customer, and they may do 10 to 15 price proposals in that vicinity every month. So great, Mr. Customer, it takes me 2 to 3 hours to put this proposal together. At $120 an hour, that's $360. So when you get to this stage, you're already locking in the next step. The next step is, I'm going to have the investment proposal for you in 7 days' time. Let's lock in a time now where I can present this to you in person for the big ones, or via a Zoom call for the mid-sized ones, or for the not so, for the general ones where you've got shitloads. You would just do it how you're doing it now, which is hit and hope, send it out, bring them up, don't get anything. But for the ones that are really important, the 80-20 rule, for the 80% of your business you're going to get, always book time for a live Zoom or an in-person quote unveil. Because if they won't do that, again, they're not invested in the process. They're just price shopping you. Now, there are going to be a couple of differences. I know David, for example, David deals with body corporates. They're an absolute pain in the slats because you've got to get to the right person. And in some cases, in the building game, for example, maybe the project is not being it's not being started for 12 months, but they're just doing their done it again. They're getting their post-job work in. There we go. Try that. And that's fine because, hey, look, it's no point doing a price proposal unveil simply because I'm not there yet. Great. Well, let's book in a time for 6 months' time when we can have another chat. That would be a really good thing to do. Let's just have a look. Government departments usually ask for proposals. Yeah, absolutely. Government departments, we'll actually come to that one, David, shortly. So meets all the criteria, meets they're all met. So that's that one. And then we have onboarding. This is when you go down there. We won't do it for you. We will do it with you. And again, if a buyer constantly underperforms, they go into that bucket. If they meet all criteria, happy days. You've now got it. So hopefully that's a really quick example of how to bring this whole system in together. And if you just think about sales as a game you can't lose, a lot of people get anxious about selling because it's a fear of rejection. But a client can't reject you. A parent can reject a child. A spouse can reduce another spouse. Yeah, twice. Thank you very much. I'm going well. And then, maybe at some point a teacher can reject a pupil. That's about it. A customer or a potential client cannot reject you. It's just not possible. So if you can turn sales into a game you can't lose, hey, look, Mr. Customer, you're coming on board. Bloody great. Life's wonderful. Hey, Mr. Customer, you're procrastinating or you're waiting 6 months. That's great. Life's still great. Mr. Customer, you're going with somebody else or I haven't won your business. How perfect. Life's still great. I can still get on to my next job. So just pre-frame around that and make it into a game you actually can't lose. Okay, what's next? Well, we're on target. We're going to get done in the 45 minutes. Can't quite believe it, but there we go. Okay, so what's the next step for you guys? So the next step is, because you've registered, I've got your email addresses. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending those PDFs that I just went through. I'm going to send them out as a gift to you probably later on today, if not first thing in the morning. So you're all going to get that. The other thing you're going to get is I'm going to send you a calendar link. So anyone here that's unsure or just really wants to go, hey, look, that was all great, Marty, but how does it relate to me? Let's get on a free 15-minute session where we can just chat about your business and your sales structure. It's all complimentary. It's all free. No dragons. It's all good. If you went to the next step after that, you could apply to attend one of my sales cardio experiences. $699, 4 hours of content, and then you get 28 days working with me to perfect your pitch, to get that just right. And we have follow-ups, it's an accountability. Just doing something like this is great, but I'm the accountability guy. It doesn't work unless someone holds you accountable, and I will absolutely assure you, isn't that right, Lou? I'll hold you guys, I'll hold anyone that deals with me accountable. And after that, if we're a good fit together to work together, we can work together one-on-one, sales team management, KPIs, team. I even do strategic pitching. Someone says to me, hey, look, we've got a big customer. I don't know how to pitch. Can you give us a hand? Absolutely. That's my gig. I love doing sales stuff. And at 42 minutes, 23 seconds, that is time to stop share. And that's the official part of the presentation done. So hopefully that is helpful. I'm going to put my glasses on and read. Thank you very much for your attendance today, people. I've enjoyed it. I've had an absolute hoot. From my sales heart to yours, have fun and expect to see me in your inbox now that I've got your email addresses. See you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.